I really like San Francisco. I'm going to try and do I've written a script set here. So I'm hoping to be shooting here in a few months.
That'd be exciting. Can you
Exciting
talk
for
about
me.
that? Or?
Yeah, sure.
What is it?
It's an 8-part TV series for this station FX, and it's sort of set. It's sort of set in the world of tech to an extent. And
we have none of that here.
No, I know. I don't know why I chose San Francisco. What was the point? What was the point? Big mistake. Yeah. Big mistake. But I'd written exterior San Francisco Day, and now I'm stuck with it. But yeah, that's it. And it's we got to figure out how to make it and the sort of practical sides. But the scripts are all written and done, and they've greenlit it. So I hope it's going to happen. That's but you never know.
How long does it take you to write a script, give or take? And obviously, a 8-part series is different than a feature film, but
yeah. Well, actually, I write pretty quick, particularly a first draft. And so film scripts quite often maybe 2 weeks and for a first draft. And this TV series we were just talking about, that's 8 episodes, which are an hour long, so it's a whole different level just in page count. But I got in a kind of white heat with it. And it took about 3 months. And all I did really was write. Actually, while doing it, at some point I had, for various reasons, I had to go to Cambodia, and I was there for a couple of weeks. And while I would be sort of, getting from one city to another, I'd have my laptop perched on my knee, and I'd still be writing. So sort of nothing seemed to get in the way of it, even though I love Cambodia and I'd really always happy to be there. I was still basically zoned in on writing this thing.
Do you write very fleshed out first drafts? Or?
Yeah. Sometimes the thing that we shoot is basically the first draft. I mean, so it shouldn't be scrappy, sometimes stuff changes a lot. I mean, the very, very first draft of it, the last film I worked on, which was Ex Machina, to the final draft, that changed really quite considerably. So it varies, and there was another film worked on a few years ago, Never Let Me Go, where the first draft was the shooting script. So it's sort of,
For Annihilation, would you say, does it fall somewhere in the middle? Was it very close to the first draft, or did it evolve a lot over?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think. The first and the last draft were pretty similar. There were some changes. There were really changes primarily to the end. Some elements of the end, kind of making it stranger, actually. Annihilation was a weird sort of organic process. And in a way, that never changed. It was like that. I mean, pretty much, like, I shoot the script, and we did shoot the script with Annihilation, but there would be things around it that would be changing. At one point, Natalie Portman walks past crystal trees kind of growing out of a beach, and until 3 months in post-production, so after we'd shot it and those were not trees, they were crystal human forms sort of pushing out of the sand. But we kept sort of pushing ourselves and trying to figure out what was the right thing to do, and what we felt was we just had this sequence in an abandoned town where the characters had encountered plant forms that were in human form, and we sort of thought, why we're being lazy, we've sort of repeated ourselves, and so we abandoned an enormous amount of work and started again and came up with different forms. And anyway.
If you come up with a new idea that you feel is superior to the your previous iteration, are you very much like, throw it out, we gotta do this one, or do you ever feel that kind of tapped?
Yes, no, throw it out. And actually as well, so what I do is I work with a group of people. I mean, I'm the guy sitting in front of you, but I work with a group of people, and those ideas can come from anyone in the group of people. And if someone comes up with a better idea than any idea I've had or one of the others have, then it immediately wins. You try to make just a meritocracy of ideas as much as possible. The simplest way to put it, I think, and I'm sort of serious about this, I'm not just saying it, is I don't like pyramid structures, and I don't work within pyramid structures. And you could view the filmmaking as more like a mountain range where You have autonomous groups. So any one of those mountains can say, we really feel it should be like this, and then that's cool. If it's the right thing to do, that's just what happens. And that would include individual cast members or individual crew members or whatever it happens to be. So,
are there any particular examples aside from the glass trees on the beach that you can think of? That
well, the whole film.
The whole film?
Yeah, sure. Because what you have, the process is very broadly, and this is true of everything I've worked on. Well, not everything's a book adaptation. Sometimes they're spec scripts, but whatever. So in this case, there's a book, and then I read the book and I think, how can this be adapted, or how do I want to adapt it? Then I write a script. And then from that moment, the script is disseminated amongst a large group of people, some of whom I've worked with for like 20 years. And some people are coming in at a later stage, and other people have been there forever, or it feels like forever. And from that moment, it is a conversation. It's a big conversation which people are chipping into and stepping out of, or whatever, according to what stage it's at in the process. Just to give a literal example of that, so I'm being really crystal clear about the degree to which the ideas come from other people, not from me, and it's part of a collective. Like, the key thing is that it's a collective. There's a moment in Ex Machina where the kind of female appearing robot has dressed herself in skin and then in clothes, and then she walks out of a room. And as she walks out of the room, she passes a painting on the wall, and the painting is a woman in a white dress, and she's wearing a white dress, and the painting is by Gustav Klimt, and it's a depiction of Wittgenstein's sister, and Wittgenstein is a philosopher on which a lot of the script was based. And that, I think, when people see that, if they clock any of that stuff, which is kind of obscure and subtle, but they'd think, what a brilliant directorial flourish, right? And I didn't know that painting was on the wall of the set until the morning I walked onto the set. It was put there by Mish Day, the set decorator, who's a brilliant and insightful woman. I've worked with her for 20 years, and that is all Mish. It is actually Mish talking with the costume lady, who is Sammy Sheldon, and Sammy Sheldon talking to Alicia Vikander, who was the actress, and I had literally no part to play in that. And how many times did that happen with Annihilation? A lot, right? A lot. It's kind of like that. I see it ideally as being, sorry, this answer's too long. I'll just say this one thing, then I'll shut up. What I aim for is not pyramid structures, but anarchy not as chaos, but as a collective who are all in a state of agreement about what they're doing, and then have autonomy within that.
Sort of the ideal form of anarchy, in a sense.
Yes, the ideal, the sort of utopian form of anarchy, and sometimes, of course, it is chaos, but it's a sort of friendly chaos, and it's like a good-natured chaos. And broadly, I think it's productive. And also, one of the reasons I don't like the pyramid structure is because I think this is actually, in truth, how a lot of stuff actually gets done. We then superimpose a pyramid structure over it, and we attribute things to people falsely. And I'd rather just get rid of the artifice as much as possible and say, look, come on, this is a collaboration and a collective, and we all know it, so let's stop pretending it isn't.
If you went to Area X, do you think your instinct would be to fight it, face it, or embrace it?
Me personally?
Yep, you personally.
Fight it,
Fight
unfortunately. That's my Achilles heel.
And never wear gloves.
Never wear gloves?
She never wears gloves. I've never met a scientist who was handling samples who would not want to contaminate it.
Well, you know what? That directly goes into what we were just talking about, because I'm not kidding when I say that thing about
I believe you.
Yeah, it's like if Sammy, who also, I try to work with the same people as often as possible. Sammy also did the costumes for this. If Sammy felt she should be wearing gloves, or if Natalie said, I think I should have gloves, and then they came to me and said, we kind of think it would be gloves, I'd go, all right, sure. But they didn't, so there's no gloves.
All right.
It's like that. It sounds kind of lazy, but it's not. It's just like, I don't know. It's a nice way to work.
Good. I didn't find it lazy. I was just intrigued because I was like, wonder if there's extra. But to me, as an audience member, to interpret in that scenario.
Yes, it is. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And there's a kind of transaction between viewers and, Like I've learned, it doesn't matter what your intentions are. Okay, it's hugely about the personal, subjective take of the person seeing it, and that's actually cool. Like that's to be embraced along with the anarchy. But yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
All right.